Well, orchid sales have increased by 450% over the past 5 years, and that's why there's this special new orchid area at Gardners World Live. Well, they have a reputation for being tricky customers, so I went back to school to learn more about them. Writhlington School, close to Bath to be exact. It's an ordinary school with an extraordinary secret. Through the gates and up past the bike sheds is an enormous old greenhouse. Inside, there's always a myriad of activity, pupils and orchids everywhere, and it's all down to their physics teacher. I mean, when I was at school, people weren't growing orchids. It wasn't on the national curriculum, was it, orchid growing? How did it all come about?
Well, it's been going here a long time. This is my 19th year at the school. And orchids have become a really big part of what we do.
Yeah.
So if you arrived at school now, aged 11, you could volunteer and come along to Greenhouse Club.
Oh, I would,
and then get stuck in. And once you'd been here and shown an interest, you'd get a group of your own plants to look after and get ready for shows and propagate.
So, girls, what are these you're growing?
These are the paddy orchids, and they are ones that can grow in English weather, so they don't have to be in hot temperatures, and you just put them out in your conservatory and they'll be okay.
So they're great orchids to start with, aren't they?
Yeah.
This is a Masdevallia.
Right. And it's growing on a lump of wood?
Yes, what we do is, in cool and wet conditions, we get the plant and we put the roots in the bark of the wood.
And that's all it needs?
Yeah.
Just a bit of bark. Couldn't be easier, could it? I think this is one of the most beautiful orchids we've seen in here.
Yes, it's called a Bulbophyllum picturarum, and it smells like rotten fish.
Yeah, why?
Because it attracts flies and insects.
Right, and they pollinate it.
Yeah, and they pollinate it. And also, which is unique about it, is a little part inside moves in. If you want to blow on it, it will move.
Come on then, let's have a go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, look!
And
it's quivering, isn't it?
Yes, it's really nice.
Yeah. Can I join you, please? I've got an exam later on, so I want the lowdown on the simplest way of growing orchids. If I'm growing them for the first time, what are the things I've got to remember?
Not to overwater. Water 2 to 3 times a week with rainwater only.
Right. Brilliant.
Don't overpot your orchid. They prefer to be pot-bound.
Right, so keep your pots small.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Don't use the wrong compost.
Right.
Orchids grow on trees, so the main component of any orchid compost should be air.
So, what else?
Well, don't be impatient with your orchid, as unlike tomato plants, they do grow very slowly, and it could take a couple of years before they fully flower.
You've also got to try and keep your orchid in the right temperature zone, around about 10 degrees to 15 degrees.
I've learnt loads about orchids, but now it's time for the big test.
OK, right, today we're going to do an exam on the do's and don'ts of orchid growing. Question number 1 is, what is the main component of any orchid compost? Right then, which of these pots would be best to pot this plant in? Which of these would be the worst ingredient to use as our compost? We've got a bit of perlite, soil, or bark. No conferring. So, assuming it's a cymbidium, what would be the best temperature to keep it at? And last question, question number 5. I want 2 examples of something you shouldn't do to your orchid. OK, if you could put down your pen or pencil, the test is finished. Carol, we will be revealing your results at Gardners World Live. But in the meantime, we do have a book that we want you to take away. It's our orchid book that we've written, The Do's and Don'ts of Orchid Growing. So get swatting.
So, Luke, how did I get on?
Well, you got 5 out of 5.
Ooh! I'm no good at exams.
Except for question 4, where you put 2 answers down, so you cheated a little bit, but...
Yeah, well, it always pays to hedge your
It
bets,
does, yeah.
it? Oh, but that's fantastic. And all down to this little book, you
Yep.
know. It's just so packed with information, it's terrific. And to having a very good teacher, too.
Oh, thank you.
Besides selling their book, the kids of Writhlington School have built an impressive exhibit showing orchids in their natural habitat. It's bound to draw in the crowds to this new area, where there are orchids from all 4 corners of the globe.